guys, welcome back to Semper Fi Mechanic. My name's Thomas. Today's video, we're working on Nissan Maxima. The customer called and stated, come out to my job, my car won't move, I need new rotors. And I was like, all right, brother, be right out. So as I'm driving out to get the parts, I'm thinking, why in the hell are the rotors stopping the vehicle from moving? So we need to take a look at this, see what's going on. But we already got the rotors, so hopefully that's it. But I have a feeling there's probably more, because rotors usually don't just stop the vehicle. And actually, if you look at them, these rotors don't look bad at all, really. I mean, these look like a normal set of rotors, so I'm not real sure why he wants to replace them. But that's what he hired me to do, so I'm not going to argue with the man. All I know is we're going to replace these rotors, but we're going to find other things wrong, because the symptoms he told me means something has to be wrong. And by looking at the rotors, they're not it. You know, so it puts you in a situation like, do you tell the customer, no, these rotors are bad? Or do you just put the rotors on, do your job, and leave? So right now, just a regular rotor job. You know, we got the lug nuts broken loose, jacked up the car. I showed you where to put the jack at. Go ahead, put the e-brake on. We're being safe. And for the rotor job, because this is done on the weekend, I charged $160. So it's 2 hours labor, because I get paid $80 an hour. That's what I charge. So I charged him $160 for this. Now the job's really only about a $90 or $100 job. But if you want me to come out on Saturday to your work and get them done, that's the price. See them rotors, man, there's nothing wrong with them. So I'm checking out these other parts. There's got to be something else, and there it is. If your shock is all wet, that means it's leaking. That means it's not working properly. So what do I do now? I mean, I've already told him the rotors didn't need changed, and he told me change them anyway and not to worry about anything else. And I told him, I don't think it'll fix your vehicle. You have other issues. I just haven't found them yet. And he didn't care. Well, here's the shocks. So what do? Do I call him and tell him, hey, you need your shocks done? The problem is, what if he stops the job completely? He says, okay, never mind, just stop it altogether. Because people do that. So do I just finish the work, get paid, then tell him, also, this is what you need done at the end? Or do I stop the job, call him, tell him what I found, and leave it up to him? Because you always run the risk of that, you know? And I'm going to choose not to tell him till the job's done. Because I already drove out here. I've already started this rotor job. I'd be damned if he stops and cancels it. That ain't going to happen. And you usually can tell these things once you first meet the people. And then you can go off your gut. You know, if you think they'll pay it no matter what, then you go ahead and tell them right now. But to be honest, I don't trust the guy to pay. So I'm not going to say shit till the end of the job. So this is just another scenario that you run into doing mobile mechanic jobs. And I just like to show you guys this. So if anybody's thinking about getting in the business, these are things that you're going to have to think about. Or if you're a customer, you can see from the mobile mechanic side what he's thinking, you know, so then you can have a better relationship and a better experience getting your car fixed. Now, I haven't talked about going step by step with this job because it's a simple brake and rotor job. But you could simply mute this and follow the steps and it'll get done. Here we got this rotor off, and you can tell that thing's in pretty good shape still. I mean, it's got a little bit of a rust edge right there, but that's nowhere near having any problems yet. There it is beside the new one. Not a huge difference, to be honest. That was not his problem with this job. The symptoms he described was not a rotor. And guys, if you got anything from this video, any value, if it was interesting, if you liked it at all, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button for me. The more likes we get, the more the algorithm will like this video and push it out to more people. And that's the goal. That's what we want. And this is Sunday right now. On Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll be putting out that video talking about the company that was ripping people off. We're actually going to name their name. or we're going to put them on blast and put their name out there. What we have here is my favorite ratchet. It's a 1/2-inch ratchet from Craftsman. It's not very expensive. I have a lot more expensive ones than this, but this is my favorite. And to switch it from righty tighty, lefty loosey, it doesn't have a handle. So I got to put that little screwdriver in there and turn it. But it is my favorite. I'll link it down in the description, but you can probably get it for about $5 or $10. But man, it's done me great. So go ahead and pick one up. Well, so far with the vehicle, we've changed the rotors that did not need change. We're putting the old brake pads back on the rotors that did not need change. But we did find both shocks need replaced, but we haven't told him yet because we're scared he'll cancel the job and not pay us what he owes us. So some people will not like that and will say, that's wrong, you should do it, you should call him and tell him what it is. And some people will be like, yeah, I understand. Go ahead, replace what he wanted you to. Remember, he hired you to replace this, and that's all he wanted done. So do what he said, fix it, then get paid, then tell him what's really wrong. Look, I only got half the money. Remember, I only get half the money up front. So if I tell him what's wrong, he might say, let's just cancel it all because he doesn't have the money to get the shocks done. So that means I'd have came out here, done all this for $80. So no, I'm not going to. I'm going to finish this job. I'm going to call him, tell him to cash at me the rest of the money. The job's done. I've done the rotors. Once he pays me, I'm going to let him know I also found this. We'll go from there. I already know what's going to happen. I know he's not going to fix it. I could just tell from talking to him, from everything. He just got this car, doesn't want to put a lot of money in it. And look, both sides are leaking. Look how bad that is. So he's for sure not going to replace it. Now, he's got both shocks he'll have to replace. This caliper is leaking. Look how wet the back of this caliper is. This caliper is leaking. This was one of his main problems right here. This caliper wasn't working properly. That's why the car wouldn't go. The piston's probably pushed out so far because he wore his pads down. So he needs a new caliper. Yeah, there's no way he's going to replace this. He would cancel this whole job and I'd be out this money. I'll still tell him at the end, and if he wants, and I'll give him a price for everything. If he wants to get it fixed, I'll fix it for him. But there's no way I'm going to stop the job and tell him right now. I'm going to do the job that he wants. I'm going to get paid. Then I'll tell you, you also need all this. He won't be happy, but I mean, it's just part of it. I'm not going to get ripped off because you want your rotors replaced and only your rotors when you have all these other issues. Just, no, man, ain't going to happen. These are some lessons that you can learn if you're a new mobile mechanic, if you're looking to get into the business. These things happen, and you have to make a decision. And I've made the other decision plenty of times. I've called the customer and told them, hey, this is what I found, and they've canceled the job and said, no, never mind, let's not do any of it, and I've lost money. But I've also had customers say, okay, go ahead and fix everything, and I've made more money. It ain't like I'm not telling the customer and then doing the work and charging them. That's not what's happening. I'm just not telling them at all till I finish the job that they hired me for. Then I tell them about it. And if they want to do it, then we do it. Of course, I wouldn't do this to every customer, but I'm going to do this to him because he was adamant to just change the rotors, even though I told him it wouldn't fix these issues and that he has more things going on. So once he said that, that tells me. And now even look here. This is the lower control arm, or the lower control arm bushing. That thing's done. So the shocks are leaking, his caliber's leaking, his lower control arm's leaking. Yeah, if I tell this dude right now that he needs $1,000 to replace everything, he's going to tell me to go to hell. So yeah, I'm not going to tell him that. I'm going to at least get my money out of this. I mean, I hope he does. If I tell him, look, you give me $1,000, I can get your car fixed, running nice and good. Parts and labor, that's everything. Then we would do the job. We'd knock it out for him. It'd be great. But we already know how this is going to end. I mean, the car's only worth $2,000, so you're not going to put $1,000 in it. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But you guys, let me know in the comments if I was right, if I was wrong, or what you would do about this. Would you tell him and maybe he not pay you anything? Or do you do the job, get paid, and then tell him what's wrong? You know, I know there's going to be people on both sides of this. So just let me know down there, man. This is what happens on some mobile mechanic work days. I bring you guys along and I show you inside the job. This is what people don't talk about. I'm just trying to give you the information that's real, raw, and truthful. All right, well, we got an update. Obviously, it wasn't the rotors. The rotors look good. He wanted them fixed. I fixed them. He didn't want the brake pads changed, so I didn't change them. He didn't want the hardware changed, so I didn't touch anything. He wanted nothing different, just the rotors. But obviously, the other rotors was in pretty good shape, so I was confused. But we did find the lower control arm needs replaced, or at least the lower control arm bushing. Also, the caliper's leaking passenger side, and shocks on both sides are leaking. You know, so he needs about $1,000 worth of stuff. At the minimum, he needs the passenger caliper and the passenger shock at the minimum. If you only got enough money for a few things, you have to do that. Because I would not recommend driving this vehicle. So did the rotors, did a diagnosis, that's all we can do. If you liked my video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And like always, no, not like always, check the video description. All the tools I use, my Cash App, my Venmos, everything's down there. Please check it out. Now, like always, Semper Fi, till next time.